Happy morning, guys. I hope all of you had breakfast and I hope the breakfast was not pongal and vadai. Today we will be doing MCQ questions, and this book you can find it in the free resources, guys. If you don't have the soft copy, don't worry. This is available as a free resource in the CA Classroom website. You can go to the free resources tab and you can find this book. Are you all ready to start off with MCQ questions? Yes, I need to hear an yes. Even if you're watching this online, even if you're just staring at a screen like that, I want you to talk to me. I want you to respond to me when I ask you a question. Only then this session is going to be effective, guys. Now, as usual, I'm going to start off with the last case, that is case number 36. Now I'm starting off with case number 36. CA Misha. CA Misha is appointed as a statutory auditor of a bank of FDH Limited. Okay. During the audit, the following issues were observed. Okay. What are the issues which is observed? The bank provides Kisan credit card loans. And one more thing, before I proceed forward, I wanted to tell this even before we start. So usually MCQ questions, if you see, there'll be big case studies and then questions will be given. I don't want you to get scared looking at the size of that question, because let me tell you, if a question is big in size, that means the answer is going to be there in the question. So you have to be happy looking at the big sized questions. I don't want you to be scared or anything looking at the size of the question. It is going to be easy. Trust me, you will be able to tell me the answers. Now, what are the things that she observed, the issues? The bank provides some loan to farmers, that is Kisan credit card loan to farmers to meet their short-term credit needs for crop cultivation. Okay, one such loan with an outstanding balance of rupees 20 lakhs at the year end had no transactions for the past 90 days. The loan was granted for paddy cultivation, which typically takes 3 to 4 months from sowing to harvest. The branch has classified the loan as standard asset. This looks like an agricultural advance. In agricultural advance, what did we see? We saw what is the meaning of long duration crop and short duration crop. For long duration crop, it is more than 1 year. If the sowing, harvesting, all of this process is more than 1 year, we will call that as a long duration crop. And for a long duration crop, if it is more than one season and he has still not paid the loan, then we'll call it as non-performing asset. For a short duration crop, that is the season that it takes is less than 1 year. For that, we will be seeing 2 crop seasons, and if he is not be able to pay that loan, we will call that as non-performing asset. All right. Now here it's going to take 3 to 4 months. So obviously it is a short duration crop, and there are no transactions. That means he's not made the payment for 90 days, which is perfectly fine. So it is classified as standard asset. I don't see any problem there. It was also noted that the account of a borrower with a cash credit limit of 50 lakhs, which was taken over from another bank, was sanctioned by the bank manager instead of the immediate higher authority as required in bank's manual. That is bank's manual of delegation of powers. That means the internal control is saying that the higher authority of the bank manager has to give the sanction the loan, but it has been sanctioned by the bank manager itself. Okay, that is the second issue. The third issue is CA Misha also serves as a statutory auditor for a multiplex cinema. During the audit, CA Misha observed that revenue of the company has fallen from 50 crores in the last year to only 5 crores in the current year. Okay, this looks like a serious going concern for the entity, for which the financial statements have been received due to lack of demand in the market for company's products. Okay, now what are the questions? These 3 issues are given. As regards description of agricultural advance, which of the following statements is most appropriate in this regard? There are 4 statements which is given. Bank has erred in making a classification. What is the classification that it has been made? It has been said that it is standard asset, and yes, bank has erred in making classification as per RBI norms. It is a substandard asset. No. The classification made by branch is proper. However, there are no transactions in account since the last 90 days. So it's a special mention account. Doesn't matter if it's not, there are no transactions more than 90 days. Okay. The classification made by the branch is is proper. The branch has erred. Erred means it has made an error in making the classification as per RBI norms. It is saying that is a doubtful asset. The correct answer is there is no problem. The classification is standard asset, that the bank has classified it as standard asset only, because if it is 3 to 4 months, then we will have to see for 2 crop seasons and only then we will classify it as a non-performing asset. So here the correct answer is answer C, that is the classification made by the branch is proper. Now going to the second question. Regarding taken over account from another bank, which of the following statement is most appropriate? If you remember, the second issue was given here where the loan was taken over by another bank and it was sanctioned by the bank manager itself instead of the internal control. That is, internal control is saying the immediate higher authority of the bank manager. Now, what is the second question talking about? Regarding taking over, which of the following statements is most appropriate? It is a serious violation of the procedures of the bank for sanction of advances and it should be reported by the auditor without fail. Yes, it is an internal issue of the bank. I hope now you are able to see. Yes, it is an internal issue of the bank. However, the auditor may at his discretion report it. What at his discretion and all? If the internal control is not proper, that it has been violated, then it definitely has to be reported. It is an internal issue. An auditor is not concerned with it. Of course, the auditor will be concerned with the internal control which is framed. There is no issue involved as credit facility was properly sanctioned. The obvious answer is A, that it is a serious violations and the auditor has to report it without fail. 2A is the correct answer. Third, regarding drastic fall in revenue of the company, which of the following is an audit risk? Okay, what is an audit risk? They are asking. Fall in revenue would result in fall of profits of the company. Drastic fall in revenue may imply that company, now the third issue they're talking about, that is 50 crores to 5 crores, I think. Yes. Previously it was 50 crores and in the current year it is only 5 crores. Fall in revenue will result in fall of profits. So how is that an audit risk? Doesn't matter. Drastic fall in revenue may imply that company is not able to carry out its operations in the foreseeable future due to lack of demand in the market for company's products. That there is a risk that going concern disclosure is omitted to be made in the financial statement. So basically, what is the meaning of audit risk? The risk that the auditor gives an inappropriate audit opinion when the financial statements are materially misstated. That is only the definition of audit risk. So here the second point is talking about there is a fall in revenue and going concern might be affected. There is a risk that this going concern, the disclosure is not being made in the financial statement. So there is a possibility that the auditor will overlook this and he will say that everything is perfect, but in reality going concern might be affected. So 3B is definitely the right answer. But just in case, I will read C and D also. The company can explore some new line of activity. The demand of its product is falling. Doesn't matter about audit risk. Fall in revenue would mean lower tax liabilities for the company, not related to audit risk again. So the obvious answer is 3B. I hope you understood how you have to write the case scenario based MCQ. So here it was quite easy. This was one issue, second one was one issue, third one about revenue, there was one issue, and exactly 3 questions about each of the issues they have asked. This is case scenario 36. Going to case scenario 35. Ravi and Co., a chartered accountant firm, has been appointed as the auditor of XYZ Limited, who is a prospective new client. Okay. CA Sukanya, one of the firm's partner, is handling the potential client. Okay, CA Sukanya is the handling the client. CA Sukanya is part of Ravi and Co. During a meeting with the company's officer, she discovered that Sushant, who is the company CFO, is a former classmate. Okay, both of them know each other for a very long time. Looks like some kind of a thread, familiarity thread. They had both started their CA journey together, but Sushant left the program halfway. That means he is a discontinued chartered accountant due to repeated failure. And later he pursued an MBA in finance from a prestigious institution. Looks like some trauma case. During initial discussion, the company reveals the plans to launch a new service in the weather forecasting sector. Okay, some new service that they are launching in the weather forecasting. These services will be available on the website of the company and users can access micro weather information for a small fee. Okay, the company requests that the audit firm will be visibly associated with their marketing efforts. That means what are they saying? That the firm will be visibly associated with the marketing effort. Assuming the firm accepts the offer, they send a letter to the previous auditor. This looks like independence in appearance is being compromised, yes or no? Because they are visibly being associated in the marketing effort. Why should the auditor be visibly associated with marketing? Looks like some kind of independence in appearance is being compromised. Assuming the firm accepts the offer, they send a letter to the previous auditor, which is Royal and Company, requesting any professional reasons that may prevent them from taking on the assessment. However, Royal and Company does not respond to the inquiry. While planning the audit, Ravi and Company also learned that the company has acquired all the shares of another company, which requires the financial statements of both the companies to be consolidated and according to the applicable laws. Despite this information, Ravi and Company fails to advise the client on the necessity of auditing. Professional competence and due care has been compromised. Firm is also reviewing internal controls of XYZ Limited. What and all he checked in internal controls, he verifies are tenders called before placing the orders? Are the purchases made on the basis of written order? Is the purchase order form standardized? Are purchase order form pre-numbered? Okay, few questions he is having with respect to the internal control of XYZ Limited. Based on the above facts, answer the following. Keeping in view the request of the company to be visibly associated with company's new services, identify which type of threat is being faced by audit firm. When I read it itself, I was able to tell that advocacy threat, because objectivity is not there here. Auditor is promoting the client's opinion and people believe that objectivity has been compromised. Here, instead of promoting, auditor is being associated with the marketing for the client. So obviously, in the eyes of the people who are watching, the objectivity has been compromised. There is no independence in appearance. So advocacy threat has been compromised. He becomes like an advocate for the client. The previous auditor, Royal and Company, have not replied to the communication of Ravi and Co., which fundamental principle of professional ethics is not followed by them. So usually when you go for audit, you have to get the confirmation from the previous auditor as to why he resigned, why he is not continuing, can you continue, is there any issue, and all of those things. Now here the previous auditor has not responded. That means professional behavior has not been proper. That is to be, should be the right answer. Yes, professional behavior. Ravi and Company have failed to advise the company regarding audit of consolidated financial statement. Now, he has to do something. He has to have that professional competence and due care, but he has not done that. The fundamental principle has been violated. That means professional competence and due care. I don't even have to see the options. That is 3D is the correct answer. Which method is Ravi and Company using to facilitate the accumulation of the information necessary for the proper review and evaluation of internal control? For internal control, how did he do that? He verifies the following things, and he had few checklists. Are tenders called place before orders? Are purchases before written order? Is purchase order standardized? Is purchase order pre-numbered? Like this, he has a checklist. So obviously this should be a checklist format. Yes, it is a checklist 4C. Like this, I'll tell you guys, if you have the full conceptual clarity, you most of the times you don't even have to see the answers, that is the options which is given. You will directly know the answer. Like say for example, in third, I didn't even have to see. Once I knew that he had to do something but he did not do it, which professional ethics is being violated, automatically I knew it was professional competence and due care. This is one of the examples which is given for professional behavior in the concept book itself, that you have communicated to the previous auditor but not been responded and you're continuing with the work. That is professional behavior has been compromised. This is one of the examples which is given for professional behavior, if you remember in the concept book. This also is there in the concept book, visibly associated with the company's new marketing services. Then he becomes like a mouthpiece for the client. He becomes like an advocate for the client. So automatically it is a advocacy threat. This is case scenario 35, guys. Now I'm moving on to case scenario 34. Star Limited, a leading manufacturer of windmills in India, appointed Messrs. Shahi and Company LLP of Chartered Accountants as its statutory auditor for financial year 2023-24. Okay. Star Limited is the client, Shahi and Company is the auditors. During the audit, one of the audit team members, CA Ritik, was asked by the engagement partner to verify the ownership assertion of the company's inventory. To accomplish this, CA Ritik requested the concerned official of the company to arrange for the audit team to attend the physical inventory count for being conducted by the company. Yes, he asked to check the ownership assertion. So he asked the audit team to be physically present for physical inventory count being conducted. C. Ritik believed that attending the inventory count was the only way to check the ownership assertion relating to company's inventory. He discussed the matter with another audit team member, C.A. Pari. She had a different perspective. What did C.A. Pari say? According to C.A. Pari, the correct course of action would be C.A. Ritik verifying the purchase requisition, purchase order, receiving report, vendor invoices, inventory record, and payment files, etc. As ownership assertion could not be verified simply by attending the physical inventory count. While verifying the creditors and purchases balances, now you tell me, physical verification of inventory is going to talk about the existence and the condition of the inventory. SA 501 we have studied existence and conditions. For that assertion, you can go and do the physical verification of inventory. Even I think in items of FS, for inventory, the assertion existence, we did the physical verification of inventory. Okay, so now CA Pari is saying you have to do other things also, like purchase requisition, purchase order, receiving report, as ownership could not be verified by just doing the physical inventory count. While, because I'll tell you why they're saying like this, say CA Pari is saying like this, because there is a possibility that you go and do the physical verification of inventory and you look at that inventory is right there, you can count it, it is perfect, but there is a possibility that the company is holding the inventory for another third party. Yes or no? That means the ownership is not of that company. That is the reason why CA Pari has given all these options to find the ownership. Okay. CA Pari, while verifying the creditors and purchase balances, CA Pari have been satisfied with the internal control procedures relating to purchases and creditors and decides to check the creditors balance on a sample basis. She requested the management to provide a list of all the creditors, which included a total of 550 creditors. The number of creditors is given. Okay. To determine the sample, SA 530 sampling, they're directly jumping. CA Pari chose a sample interval of every 11th creditor balance, which results in a sample size of 50 creditors. Out of 550 creditors, she's going to do the audit procedures only on 50 creditors. And for that, what method of sampling is she doing? She's taken every 11th creditor. That means, and the clue is actually given here, you don't even have to think. Interval of every 11th creditor balance. That means systematic or interval sampling. I hope you all got that. Yes, during the audit, okay, this is kind of big. During the audit, while verifying the share capital balance of the company, CA Ritik and CA Pari observed that there has been no change in the share capital which is raised by the company. Very good. There is no change. CA Pari is of the view that since there has been no change in the share capital of the company, the audit team is not required to obtain any evidence with respect to the share capital balance. Okay, now they have jumped to items of FS. In items of FS, under the item share capital, I think the third or fourth sentence is talking about if there is no change in the share capital, then you have to get a written representation from. Very good. From the company secretary. Do not forget. However, CA Ritik was the opinion that they should obtain audit evidence even if there is no change in the company's capital structure during the year. According to him, such evidence can be a written confirmation from the accounts manager. Okay, hope there is a question about this. Before finalizing the audit report, the engagement partner asked CA Ritik to coordinate with the client company to request a written representation from management regarding their responsibilities and the information provided. However, CA Ritik refused to accept the representation as it contained a qualifying language to the effect that representations are made to the best of its knowledge and belief, which according to him was not reasonable to accept. Okay, they have used some qualifying language in the written representation which is there from the management. Basically, the engagement partner is advising CA Ritik to talk to the client and get the written representation regarding the responsibilities of the management. But they have used some qualifying language saying that with the effect of the representation made as per the knowledge and the belief of me, like that they have used some language, and CA Ritik is saying that I will not accept this written representation. Okay, now coming to the question, based on the above facts, answer the following. Now if you see, When we read the case itself, here and there, we made like, we connected it to different standards. Say, for example, here we said SA 530 is coming. They have used the interval sampling. Here, for inventory, what kind of assertion should be done for ownership? For the physical inventory, what is the assertion, existence, and condition? Like that, we were trying to analyze each of the standards and whether they have understood it properly. So, we are thinking like auditors. That is exactly what ICA wants you to do. Basically, previously, when I was writing exam and all, they used to give the question. SA 530, audit sampling objective. SA 530, explain about interval sampling. Like that, there used to be questions because ICA treated us like students. Now, ICA is treating you all like auditors. They're giving you a case, and as an auditor, you have to know where is the mistake. What is the method that they have used? All this, when you're reading the case itself, it should keep coming to your head. And here, for share capital, he is getting the written confirmation from accounts manager. Actually, where should he get? From the company secretary. Like that, you should be able to come up with the solutions as to what has gone wrong in the case study itself. Then, when you answer, it becomes very easy. Let's see what is the best course of action for CA Ritik for verification of the assertion with respect to the inventory of the company as asked by the engagement partner. 1. CA Ritik should ask the management to provide a written representation in this regard, as it is in itself a sufficient appropriate audit evidence. CA Ritik should perform test count and inspection while attending the physical inventory count in order to verify the assertion as asked by the engagement partner. What has the engagement partner actually asked? Engagement partner asked to verify the ownership assertion. So for that, should he do the test check while he is doing the physical inventory? No, physical inventory is not required for ownership. CA Ritik should ask the management to provide written representation in this regard. How will we use the written representation and say, yes, they are only the owner? Of course, they are going to write, yes, I am the owner of this. Can I consider that as a written representation? No. CA Ritik should attend the physical inventory count as the only audit procedure. CA Ritik should agree to CA Pari and follow the course of action as suggested by her. What did Pari say? Pari said that you please look at the other things also, like inventory record, payment file, vendor invoice, receiving report, purchase order. Yes, when you look at all of that, you will know what is the name of the entity which is mentioned. Now, when I see the purchase order saying that Star Limited's name is there, I know they are the owner of this asset, owner of this inventory. Yes or no? So, whatever CA Pari has told, those things only CA Ritik has to follow. CA answer D is the correct answer. CA Ritik should agree to CA Pari and follow the course of action as suggested by her. Perfect. Okay. Going to the second question. While verifying the inventory as asked by the engagement partner, which specific assertion can be best verified by following the specific audit procedure considered appropriate by CA Ritik? Now, what CA Ritik did, he wanted to do physical verification of inventory. For doing physical verification, what is the assertion that they are asking? We already know the answer when we read the case study itself. Existence and condition is what you will know when you do the physical verification. So 2A is the right answer, existence and condition. I don't even have to see the options. Don't even have to see the option. If you have utmost conceptual clarity, I'm telling you, MCQ is the best place to score. 30 on 30, you can get easily 25 above. You can get, especially if you have the good conceptual clarity. Going to question number 3. Which method of sampling? You tell me. You tell me. We saw here that the method of sampling is interval sampling, that is systematic or interval sampling. Now, which method of sampling? Simple random sampling? No. Systematic sampling? Yes. Haphazard sampling? Definitely not. Stratified? No, there did not break into strata or anything. So 3B is the correct answer. Are you able to understand how to answer? Yes, and this is not like easy question I have given you. Don't think like that. These are all past exam question, RTP, MTP question, all ICA level only. Are you able to understand? If you have the clarity, you should be able to crack the answer. Which of the following is the most appropriate with respect to verification of share capital balance of the company? Point of view of CA Pari is correct. Point of view of CA Ritik is correct. Point of view of CA Pari is partly correct, as no evidence is required to be obtained. No need to read the entire thing also. Point of CA Ritik is partly correct, as written confirmation should be obtained from the company secretary. Yes, you have to obtain it from the CS, the company secretary. 4D is the correct answer. I will just show you in the concept book so that you will know where to find this. If you have any trouble with items of FS, I will show you. Please wait. Yes, in items of FS, the first item is a share capital. I'm just showing it in my concept book. Tally period and share capital balance. You will have to tally authorized, issued, paid up. Now, I told you in the first few points itself, it will come. If there is no change during the year, obtain the written confirmation or representation from the CES that there were no changes to entities' capital structure during the year. This is the sentence that they have tested and they will allot 2 marks for this. 2 marks for this. Now, did you understand how they are trying to ask different standards, different chapters? They're trying to mix and match and ask. So, 4D is the correct answer. I just showed it in the concept book so that you will get the clarity, because in case if you have forgotten, I want you to at least go there and quickly study that line so that it will stick in your head. Question number 5. Whether non-acceptance of the written representation by CA Ritik, whether it is correct or incorrect. Why? If they have used some qualifying language that it is as per their knowledge, as per the information which they have, what is the harm in that? Why should he not accept it? He can always accept it. In SC 580, we did not see anything like qualifying language should not be used. Yes or no? So please see here, the non-acceptance of written representation by CA Ritik is not correct, as management of the company has the sole discretion to decide as to what language is used or what limitation is imposed in the written representation provided to auditor. The non-acceptance of written representation by CA Ritik is correct, as it is not reasonable. No. The non-acceptance of written representation by CA Ritik is not correct, as it is reasonable for the auditor to accept such qualifying language if the auditor is satisfied. Now here they are saying it's not correct. In the first one also they said not correct. Okay. Now the non-acceptance of CA representation by CA Ritik is correct. Okay. Definitely it is not correct, we know. It is either A or C. Now what is given in A, what is given in C, we will have to see. The non-acceptance is not correct because now you have to see the reason. As management of the company has the sole discretion to decide as to what language is used or what limitations are imposed in the written representation provided to the auditor. Here they are saying management can say whatever they want. It is their sole discretion as to what language they will have to use. Here what is the reason it is given? As it is reasonable for the auditor to accept such qualifying language if the auditor is satisfied that representations are being made by those with appropriate responsibility and knowledge of the matter which is included in the representation. Now we have to think. The non-acceptance by CA Ritik is not correct. That means he has to accept because the auditor can accept a qualifying language, and whatever representation is made, whether it is by appropriate responsibility and how is the knowledge of the people who have given, everything is perfect, so the auditor can accept. So which one is the correct answer? 5C is the perfectly correct answer. Yes, case scenario 34 is completed. Are you getting some confidence, guys, when we do this together? Yes, I hope you are getting the confidence. Case scenario 33 we will do. A government department was allocated a specific budget. Okay, now they're talking about a government department. I'm not sure whether it is government audit, but might be. Was allocated a specific budget for infrastructure development projects during the current financial year. During the audit process, the auditor reviewed the department's expenditure and management of funds and found several discrepancies that raised significant concerns regarding the management and utilization of the allocated funds. Okay, they have some funds, and regarding allocation or utilization, there was some severe concerns. The key findings are as follows. What are the findings? Several payments were processed without obtaining necessary approval from the competent authority. Approval was not there and payments were being processed. This is the first finding. Second, the department implemented a large-scale project. Okay. However, audit found no record of assessment being conducted to determine whether project achieved the expected benefit. Nobody saw whether project was done, so much of money was spent, but what was the benefit for that project? Nobody saw that. Now, don't tell me, keep it with yourself. Another serious concern identified during the audit was the utilization of funds from an account that had no budgetary provision was made. Okay, identified during the audit was utilization of funds. They have utilized some funds from some account where from that account the budget itself was not made, budgetary provision was not made. What is this provision? They are giving clues here and there. Okay. The auditor now needs to determine which type of audit will be most effective in addressing each of these concerns. Now, this is about expenditure. Now, for expenditure in a government audit, what and all will you be seeing? The first one, rule and order. Second, whether it has to be as per the sanction. Third, what is it? After sanction, what will you see? Provision of funds, whether the appropriation bill is there, all of those things. Fourth, propriety audit, performance audit. Under performance, few things are there. Okay. Now, what are the questions? Answer the following. Which type of audit is most likely to identify payments processed without proper approval from the competent authority? Payment has been processed without obtaining the necessary approval from the competent authority. Approval is not there, but payment has been processed. That means the sanction is not being done. A general or a special sanction is not being done. Audit against rules and order, audit of sanctions, audit against provision of fund, and propriety audit. The definite answer is audit of sanctions. Is it correct? Yes. 1B. Identify the type of audit to evaluate whether expected benefits of a large-scale infrastructure project were achieved or not. Now, where you will see the benefit? Now, you've done some expenditure, whether I have gotten the benefit, whether the project has performed properly. We will be seeing the performance audit. 2D is the correct answer. Which type of audit? Which one is this? Addresses the issue of funds used from an account without a budgetary provision. Budgetary provision is not there, but they have used it. Provision. I told you. Yes, it is audit against provision of funds. That is 3A is the correct answer. Easy. Government audit. We have already we know everything in government audit. Word by word, we have studied. That is the reason why it is easy. Again, I'm telling, conceptually, if you have the grip, if you have the clarity, then no one can shake you. Yes, guys, this is case scenario 3. I'm going to case scenario 33. Sorry, that was case scenario 33. Now I'm going to case scenario 32. Now I'm going to case scenario 32, guys. MA and Associates, a chartered accountant firm, is appointed as an auditor of XYZ Private Limited. Amit, the partner of the firm, okay, Amit is a partner of M&A Associates, has recently bought stock in XYZ Private Limited. He believes that the company's goodwill will increase after the audit report is finalized, which could lead to a rise in stock price. As he reviews the company's financial statements, Amit decides to give unmodified opinion to help his investment. When you look at this first para, what can you see? Is there a threat? He is holding shares in the company in which he is auditing. There is clearly a direct financial interest, so it is called as self-interest threat. Very, very good. During the audit of trade receivables, Amit selects a sample using a technique that ensures larger balances have a higher chances of being selected. However, this approach results in exclusion of many smaller balances. Okay, what does this say? Larger balances has a chances of being selected. Which method is that? It is monetary unit sampling. Yes. However, this approach results in the exclusion of many smaller balances, potentially overlooking crucial misstatements. Meera, who is another partner of a firm, one partner is called as Amit, another partner is Meera. That's why it's MA Associates. Meera is another partner of the firm, is reviewing calculation of software development cost method, which is adopted by XYZ Private Limited. Meera had been creating this method earlier. Okay, she only helped in creating the method and she herself is reviewing the calculation of the cost. She worries that her previous involvement in this method might affect her ability to review it. Obviously, she's the one who prepared and she's the one who is reviewing it. What is the threat? Self review threat. Yes, very good. Meanwhile, Raj, the CEO of XYZ Private Limited, has requested them to modify certain disclosures in the financial statements in a way that could mislead the stakeholders. Now, the CEO of the company, the CEO of the client is asking them to modify certain disclosures in the financial statement so that it's going to mislead the stakeholders. This guy is also arguing that a more favorable presentation will help the company secure additional investments. Only if you mislead, I will be able to get the investment. So you please mislead, like that he's saying. Now, Meera feels that complying with this request will compromise ethical standards and worries about the potential conflict with the client. Now, if the auditor is going to get associated with any misleading financial statements, then that is called as integrity is being compromised. Yes, based on the above facts, answer the following. Amit has bought stock in XYZ Private Limited and his investment could benefit from issuance of unmodified opinion. This indicates self-interest threat. Now, this is actually one of the case scenarios. I tell usually this in class that if there is a place where you directly read the question and you know the answer for that question itself, you don't have to actually go through the entire case study if you know the answer perfectly. Now, leave the entire case study and just read question number 1. Amit has bought stock in XYZ Private Limited and his investment could benefit from issuance of unmodified opinion. Now he has stock and he is going to audit. So obviously direct financial interest, so self-interest threat. What is the requirement to read the entire case study? 1A is the correct answer. In the given case, Amit is, for this also just read the question and try to answer. In the given case, Amit is selecting a sample to verify the trade received balances where larger balances have higher chances and smaller balances can be overlooked. This method is known as, yes, what is it? It is monetary unit sampling. Correct. Meera is reviewing a method for calculating. Now she herself did a method and she herself is reviewing it. We know the answer. That is self-review threat. 4D is the correct answer. Raj is requesting for misleading the information. Now for misleading, which fundamental principle of professional ethics will be violated if they agree to do so? Then we know the answer, that is integrity. So 5A is the right answer. Now, easily you are able to tell when you are requesting to modify for misleading. When you see this, you know that integrity is getting compromised. So, you know 5A. There will be few questions, guys. Few questions where if you just directly go to the questions instead of reading the case, you will be able to get to the answer. But you should be extremely sure that this only is the answer. Then you don't have to read the case itself. This is a way of saving some time. Question number... which one? This is 32 is done. I'm going to case scenario 31. Jin Kushal and Associates is a firm of chartered accountants practicing in Delhi. The firm consists of two partners, CA Jin and CA Kushal. Very creative name. The statutory audit team is generally headed by CA Jin and his team, consisting of 3 article assistant and 1 qualified CA who is CA Reshu. With respect to the audit work of 4 clients for which the audit team intends to start the work, the CA Jin is discussing with the team members about development of audit program for individual clients. Okay. One of the article, Mr. Sumit, was of the view that one single audit program can be developed for all the 4 clients which is operating in different industries. Especially if they're operating in different industries, it is good to have one single audit program. No, one audit program is not practicable for all the businesses. We have studied that. Okay, proceeding forward with the question. With respect to one of the clients, namely who is Saraswati Limited, which is a labor-intensive company, CA Jin asked CA Reshu to compare the amount of wages which is paid by the company in the current year and last year. They're asking her to do some trend analysis. Also, she was asked to verify relationship between number of employees and the wages paid in both the years. So, comparing the financial data and the non-financial data, they're asking her to do. Okay. This is separate. The audit firm started the audit of another client, that is namely Sarthak Limited. This is Saraswati Limited. The next one is Sarthak Limited, having minimum transactions in foreign currency, maximum transactions in foreign currency. CA Jin asked one of the team members, Mr. Rahul, to verify whether calculations related to the conversion of foreign currency into local currency is proper or not, whether accounting standards has been properly followed. He's asking him to check. While verifying the share issue transactions of one client, namely Lakshman Limited, another client, CA ratio is finding that the company has issued sweat equity shares during the year under audit. She asked one of the article, Mr. Saurabh, to verify whether relevant provisions of the Companies Act 2013 have been complied by the company in this regard. Also, with respect to Sarthak Limited, there was a reduction of share capital. Sarthak Limited is the previous client where there was a reduction of share capital. Here there is sweat equity shares. Here there is reduction of share capital. In items of FS, okay, it is just open. I will show you. In items of FS, the share capital we studied, if shares are issued at premium, shares are discount shares for sweat equity and reduction of capital. Now they are going to the items of FS. Okay. With respect to Sarthak Limited, there was a reduction of share capital during the year. Mr. Saurabh was asked by the engagement partner to verify the compliance of relevant provisions of the Companies Act 2013 in this regard also. Mr. Saurabh was of the view that there is requirement of passing of special resolution by the respective company for both. Yes, they have to pass a special resolution for sweat equity shares, and for reduction of share capital also special resolution is required. While starting the audit work of another client, that is Rintex Limited, audit team noticed that the company has its internal audit team. Okay. Mr. Sumit was of the view that the statutory audit team can use and rely on the work of internal auditor. Now they are going to SA 610, internal auditor of the company, and as such there is no requirement. I hope you remember how to remember SA 600 and SA 610. 610 is internal auditor, 600 is an other auditor. Other 600, remember like that. Now for Rintex Limited, audit team noticed that company has its own internal audit team. Mr. Sumit is of the view that the statutory audit team can use and rely on the work of the internal auditor of the company, and as such there is no requirement for the statutory audit team to perform audit procedures again, as the internal audit team have already verified the financial transactions. Now, you cannot rely fully on the work of the internal auditor. Further, while verifying the expenses ledger, Mr. Sumit noticed that the company has implemented a system whereby the entries related to expenses incurred can be entered into the accounting system by authorized personnel only. With respect to traveling expenses, which constituted about 30% of the total expenses, the entries were made by employees who are not authorized to make such entries. Internal control also has been compromised. Based on the above facts, answer the following questions. Is the view of Mr. Sumit with respect to the development of audit program? Okay, there were multiple things here. The first one was with respect to audit program, that is SA 300. The second one, what are they saying? Some analytical procedures they asked to do, SA 520. The third one, having maximum transaction in foreign currency, AS 11 was here. The fourth one, sweat equity shares and reduction of share capital, items of FS, they said what? Special resolution has to be passed. Yes, it's correct. For Rintex Limited, SA 610 came into the picture. And then here, internal control, SA 315 came into the picture. See here in one MCQ, how many standards are covered? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 places. You are jumping here and there, just for one question. Now here they are asking about development of audit program. Is it correct? He said that, Mr. Sumit said that one single audit program is enough for all the 4 clients, even though they are operating in different industries. Is that correct? Definitely no. One audit program is not practicable for all kinds of businesses. See the options. Yes, the view of Mr. Sumit is correct. No. No, the view of Mr. Sumit is not correct. Yes, very perfect. Yes, this is also no. No, the view of Mr. Sumit is not correct. We know it is either B or D. Now we have to choose between these two. Here they are saying the reason as to why it is not correct, as all the 4 clients operate in different industries and evolving one audit program for all businesses is not practicable. Looks good. Here they are saying no, it is not correct, as development of audit program is not the responsibility of the audit team. Then who will prepare the audit program? The name itself is saying audit program. It should be prepared by the audit team only. So the obvious answer is 1B, because evolving one audit program is not practicable for all the businesses. Going to the second question. Identify the audit procedures Miss Reshu was asked by CA Jin to perform with respect to Saraswati Limited. Okay, now we have to go back and see what was the audit procedure done in Saraswati Limited. What happened there? Okay, Saraswati Limited is here. What audit procedures? Okay, SA 520 analytical procedures is the audit procedures which was asked to be done. Substantive analytical procedures, test of details, test of transactions, test of internal controls. Definitely the answer is substantive analytical procedures. Answer is A. Did you understand when we read the case study itself? We have written SA 520 analytical procedures. So we know that this only is the answer. Whether understanding of Mr. Saurabh regarding the passing of special resolution is correct for sweat equity shares and reduction of share capital, special resolution has to be passed. I will show you here because items of FS you might get a little confused. I will show you in the concept book so that you get the full clarity. Issue of sweat equity shares. See here. Issue is the auditor needs to verify that SEB issue sweat equity shares issued by company are of class of shares already issued and following conditions are complied. What is the first condition? Issue is authorized by the special resolution which is passed by the company. For reduction of share capital, see the first one. Verify the meeting of shareholders to pass special resolution was properly convened and the proposal was circulated in advance to all the shareholders of the company. So for both, special resolution is compulsory. Now coming to the MCQ. Whether understanding of Mr. Saurabh regarding the passing of special resolution is correct. Now first of all, what did Saurabh say? Did he say special resolution is required or not required? Where is that items of FS here? Okay. While verifying shares of Lakshman Limited, Reshu found that company issued shares. Saurabh, she is asking to further verify whether it has been complied with Companies Act. Also, with respect to Sarthak Limited, there is reduction of share capital. Mr. Saurabh was asked to verify compliance of relevant provisions. Mr. Saurabh is of the view that requirement of passing of special resolution by the company should be there for both. Yes, he is correct. Okay. Now, where is that MCQ book? The understanding of Mr. Saurabh is partially correct, partly correct, as ordinary resolution is required. No, this is wrong. The understanding of Mr. Saurabh is partly correct, as special resolution is required in case of issue of sweat equity shares through, though ordinary resolution is for reduction of share capital. No. The understanding of Mr. Saurabh is correct, as special resolution is required in case of both sweat equity shares and reduction of share capital. Yes, I'm just reading the fourth one also. Understanding of Mr. Saurabh is not correct. Okay, now we know that the correct answer is C only, because special resolution is required for both sweat equity shares and also for reduction of share capital. 3C is the correct answer. Fourth one. Is the view of Mr. Sumit correct with respect to using and relying on the work of internal audit team of Rintex Limited? Can you fully rely on the work of internal auditor and say, I will not do the audit procedures? No. No, the view of the first one, yes, it is correct, is wrong. No, the view of Mr. Sumit is not correct. No, the view of Mr. Sumit is not correct. The view of Mr. Sumit is partly correct. No. One of B or C is the correct answer. Yes. Now, which one is it? The view of Mr. Sumit is not correct, as the statutory auditor has the statutory auditor cannot use the work of internal audit team of the client company. He can use. No, the view of Mr. Sumit is not correct, as a statutory auditor has the sole responsibility for the audit opinion which is expressed. This is the correct answer, that the statutory auditor, whatever said and done, will have the sole responsibility. So 4C is the right answer. Identify the type of risk which is noticed by Mr. Sumit with respect to entries related to traveling expenses entered into the accounting system. Now we saw that for traveling expenses, it has to be approved by some person, but it was not approved. Was that right? Yes. 30%, I mean, predominantly traveling expenses is a big part of the total expenses. Entries were made by employees itself and it was not by authorized personnel. That means internal control was weak there. So here, for the fifth question, What risk is it there? Inherent risk, detection risk, control risk, and audit risk. Control risk means inherent control is not operating the way it should. So 5C is the correct answer. Case number 31 has been completed. Going to case number 30. Are you getting the grip, guys? Are you getting the confidence when you see the MCQ? It only looks big, but if you actually go through it, it's nothing. You can easily be able to do it. Case scenario 30. CAM Raja has accepted the offer of appointment of auditor of an entity. Okay. As business is carried on by the entity, which is new to him, he wants to gain an understanding about the entity and its environment. Okay. SA 315, including its internal control. In this regard, he has performed the procedures to obtain the audit evidence about the design and implementation of the relevant controls. He has performed various procedures like inquiry, inspection, and observation in this regard. IIO, he has done. He wants, IIO means inquiry, inspection, observation. IIO, that's what I said. I hope you remember that. He wants reasonable assurance that accounting system is adequate and that all accounting information which should be recorded has in fact been recorded. Whatever has to be recorded has been recorded. He's talking about completeness assertion here. Further, during the course of audit, he has noticed as under what has he noticed? As required by the management. Bank reconciliation is required to be performed on a monthly basis. However, the same is not carried out as stipulated due to time constraints which is faced by accountant. It should be carried out on monthly basis, but it is not being carried out. He's saying some time problem. The entity has a system of procuring the raw material supply on the basis of valid purchase orders. POs has to be there on the basis of that only they're procuring. However, POs are not numbered in a sequence. Wage sheet are not verified by responsible official as required by management. Something has to be done, but wage sheet is not being verified. Staff of the entity is responsible for bringing the cash from the centers in nearby areas to entity's premises from where it is deposited in the entity's bank account. Wherever the cash has been received, they have to deposit in the bank. However, concerned officer has not renewed insurance for cash in transit. For this cash in transit insurance should be there. The officer has not renewed the insurance. Based on the above, answer the following questions. The auditor has performed procedures to obtain audit evidence about design and implementation of the control. Which of the following procedures is more reliable to obtain the audit evidence relating to application of a control? Observing the application of control, inspecting documentation pertaining to control, inquiry about application of control, studying the design of control. Read the question properly. Which of the following procedures is more reliable to obtain audit evidence relating to application of a control, application of an internal control? Which audit procedure is more reliable? They are asking. Is it inspecting the documentation? No. If you just inquire, can you take that as an audit procedure? Never. Inquiry will never give you both sufficient appropriate audit evidence. If you study the design of the control, can you know whether it is a good audit procedure to get the audit evidence regarding application of the control? Designing? No. But if you observe the application of the control, this is just a common sense question. It is only a common sense question. If you observe the application of the control, that is a good audit procedure which is more reliable, saying that the application of control has been done well or not. You just have to observe the application of the control. If you just see the design of the control, you don't know whether it has been applicated properly or not. If you see the documentation, you don't know whether it has been applicated properly or not. So you have to observe the application of the control itself. Second one. Examination and evaluation of internal control is indispensable for CAM Raja. It provides him necessary comfort relating to completeness of accounting information. However, review of internal controls of the entity will not enable him to know. Just reviewing of the internal controls of the entity will not enable him to know what? Whether errors or fraud are likely to be located in the ordinary course of operations of business. Whether an effective internal audit department is operating, will he be able to know? Yes, maybe. Whether his opinion needs modification. However, review of internal control will not enable him to know whether his opinion needs a modification. Yes, looks good. whether any administrative control has a bearing on this work. Now, when you look at this itself, you can say that if you examine and evaluate an internal control, it provides him the necessary comfort, but the review of the internal controls will not enable him to know whether his opinion actually needs a modification or not. If you just review the internal control, will you know whether you have to modify your opinion? No. Reviewing will not enable him to know whether his opinion needs modification. That should be the correct answer. Yes, 2C is the right answer. As regards weaknesses identified by the auditor in the internal control system, which of the following represents significant deficiency in the internal control? Not performing bank reconciliation timely and not verifying wage sheet by responsible official only. Not performing bank reconciliation timely and lack of proper sequencing in purchase order only. Not performing bank reconciliation timely, lack of proper sequencing in purchase order, not verifying wage sheet by responsible official, and not having the insurance for cash and all of this together is going to say that there is significant deficiency in internal control. So obviously 3C is the right answer. Here they said lots of deficiency is there. He noticed a lots of deficiency. All of these are going to say that there are significant deficiency in the internal control. So 3C is the correct answer. Which of the following is most appropriate regarding auditor's responsibility in accordance with SA 265? 265 is talking about communicating significant deficiencies with those charged with governance, to communicate significant deficiency in internal control to management, to communicate significant deficiency in internal control along with explanation of their potential effect, to communicate significant deficiency in internal control along with explanation of their potential effect, to provide the sufficient information to understand context of communication to management and express the opinion on effectiveness of internal control. No, definitely not. To communicate significant efficiency in internal control along with explanation of their potential effects to the management and to provide sufficient information to understand the context of communication to management. See here, B is definitely correct. To communicate significant efficiency along with explanation of potential effects. But here D is talking about to communicate significant efficiency along with explanation of their potential effect and to provide sufficient information to understand the context of the communication. If you remember in SA 265, you have to communicate the significant deficiency and you have to say the potential effect and also give the context for that communication. So SA 265 says that 4D is the correct answer. Now if you see here, SA 315 is being tested and SA 265 is being tested. In the exam also, when you read through the para itself, you will know, okay, this standard, IC has jumped different standards and they are trying to give you a full case-based scenario as if you are going for audit. That is the mindset that you should have when you see a question. This is case number 30. Now I'm going to question number 29, guys. DS and Company Chartered Accountants are statutory auditor of SAR Industries Private Limited, which is a company which is engaged in manufacturing business since 2018. Okay, the company is operating from rented premises and does not have a building of its own. It had upgraded its machinery last time in 2020. The manufacturing business started in 2018. Except interest in this company, promoters, directors, key managerial personnel and their relatives do not have interest or ownership in any other entity. Very good. Also, the company does not enter into any business dealings with promoter, director, KMP and their relatives. The directors and key managerial personnel get only reasonable remuneration from the company. Okay, they get reasonable remuneration. Though a company has an internal control system in place, it has not appointed an internal auditor. It is also not mandatorily required to make such an appointment under the provisions of the Companies Act. It is not mandatorily required and they have not appointed. Everything fine as of now. DS and Company have accepted audit of the above company for the year 22-23 for the first time. Promoters and the directors of the company are known to engagement partner only socially for quite some time. Okay, now it's getting interesting. However, it is for the first time that any type of professional work related to this company has been accepted by him, but both of them already know each other as socially or whatever it is. They already know each other for quite some time. Okay. While formulating an audit plan for the company, CAD, who is an engagement partner, has planned certain risk assessment procedure and further audit procedure consisting of test of controls and substantive procedures in relation to different areas. The following is the extract of the financial information of the company. They have given the financial information for year 22-23 and for year 21-22. The turnover 30 crores, 15 crores. Inventory 5 crores, 2 crores. PPE, which is a gross block, 1.25 crores in both the years. PPE net block is 1 crore in 22-23 and 1.25 crores in 21-22. Gross profit is 6 crores in 22-23 and 3.75 crores in 21-22. The receivable balance is 12.5 and 5. The PPE items consist of machinery only. Okay, this PP is only machinery. While planning procedures in respect of PP, auditor has included audit procedures like inspecting and reviewing the company's plan for performing the physical verification of PPE, assessing the depreciation method which is used, verifying the cost of PP items which is acquired during the year, with purchase bills and recalculation of depreciation charged in statement of profit and loss. Okay. Cost of PP items acquired during the year with purchase bills, they have seen recalculation done. Okay. Further, while performing the risk assessment procedures to identify the risk of mineral misstatement and financial statements, the engagement partner has come to notice that there is considerable variation in the gross profit ratio as compared to the last year. During performance of substantive procedures, he also studied the data of purchases and sales of the company during the year under audit and has also compared such data with the preceding years and the years also. Based on the above, answer the following questions. Keeping in view description provided in the case scenario, which of the following statements is likely to be most appropriate? Engagement partner is known socially to promoters and directors of the company. The situation mandatorily involves advocacy threat, casting a doubt of an auditor's independence. Irrespective of this, the detection risk in the engagement is low. First of all, the detection risk in this engagement should be high, right? Because detection risk is the risk that the auditor does not find a particular thing, that the auditor does his job properly, because detection risk is split into sampling risk and non-sampling risk. Non-sampling risk basically means that he does the wrong audit procedure. Sampling risk means that the sample is not representative of the population. Here, looking at all of this, I can say that the detection risk is going to be high in this case. So here, detection risk is low is not the right answer. Engagement partner is known socially to promoters and directors of the company. The situation mandatorily involves familiarity threat, casting a doubt on independence. It is not that it has to mandatorily be a familiarity threat, but let's see. The situation reflected in the case may not constitute a threat to independence of the auditor. Irrespective of this, the detection risk is low, definitely not. Situation reflected may not constitute a threat to independence. Irrespective of this, the detection risk is high. I think the correct answer is 1D. Why is it 1D? The situation reflected may not cause a threat to independence to the auditor. Now, whether it is advocacy or familiarity threat, you might have a doubt. If it is advocacy threat, that means auditor is promoting the client's opinion to the point that people started believing that the objectivity has been compromised. Nothing of that sort has happened here. Familiarity threat, long association between them. Here, is there a long association? For quite some time, they know each other socially. That was only written here, correct? So there was no long association. Or relative of the audit team is in the senior position of the client. In that case, familiarity threat comes, but none of those examples is actually here. So this case scenario will not constitute a threat to independence and detection risk is high. 1D is the right answer. CAD has included in the audit plan certain procedures in respect to PP items. Which of the following audit procedures is not likely to be relevant? If my answer is correct, verifying the cost of PP which is acquired, that is addition of PP, they are verifying with the purchase bills. The cost of additions with purchase bills looks like it is not actually relevant. Inspecting and reviewing company's plan for physical verification of PP, definitely yes, it is a point. Assessing the depreciation method which is used, yes, it is a point. Verifying cost of PP items acquired during the year with purchase bills. Recalculation you have to do. 2C is the right answer. When I read the case scenario itself, I marked that. Verify cost of PP during the year, that is additions during the year. If I want to see the cost, going and seeing the purchase bill does not make sense. So 2C will not be relevant. Third one. Which of the following statements is likely to be most suitable to explain the fact which is relating to variation in gross profit ratio as compared to last year? Gross profit ratio has decreased in year 22-23 as compared to year 21-22. So first we need to see whether it is decreased or increased. What is the gross profit? 6 and 3.75. The turnover is 30 and 15. What is 6 divided by 30 into 100? 3.75 divided by 15 into 100. Please write the gross profit ratio here. Now gross profit ratio I have written here for 22-23. It is 20%. I hope you know how to do that. Where is the GP? 6 divided by 30 into 100. For 21-22, it is 25%. Now, most of the times people will get confused here whether it is increased or decreased. When you just look at this, you might think it has increased, but see the year properly. 21-22 is first and 22-23 is next. So, what has happened? Gross profit ratio has reduced. So first, when I look at these scenarios, gross profit ratio has decreased, could be an answer. Increased, cannot be an answer. Decreased, could be an answer. Decreased, could be an answer. Now I have eliminated one. Gross profit ratio has decreased in the year 22-23 as compared to 21-22. It may be due to the reason that sales price may have been reduced to procure more orders. Yes, could be a reason. It has been decreased. It may be due to the reason that office staff salary engaged in admin function, maintenance expense could have increased. Think logically. If your office staff or salary expense is increasing, does that affect the gross profit? You tell me first. It comes in the profit and loss account. Yes or no? Gross profit is in the trading account. In trading account, will it affect any salary for admin expense, office maintenance expense? If it increases, is it going to affect your gross profit? No. So I am eliminating the option C also. It may be due to the reason that company has not made allowance for obsolescence in respect of inventory during the year. Will this affect the gross profit? Again, no. So the correct answer is it may be a possibility that sales price has been reduced to procure the more orders. That is 3A is the logical correct answer. There is no studying. You don't have to study any particular chapter to come to this. This is just logic. Pure logic. Just your brain has to be braining. That's it. And you will get the 2 marks here. 3A. Is it the correct answer? Yes. CAD has also studied purchases and sales data of the company during the year and has compared such data with the preceding years and the earlier years also. It is an example of, what has he done? He has studied the purchase data and the sales data of the company and he has compared it with the preceding years and also the earlier years. It is an example of trend analysis. Why do we have to read all of these things? Obviously, it is trend analysis. Question number 5. Considering the case scenario in totality, which of the following combination of standards is not proper for their likely relevance in performing and completing the above engagement? Which one is not proper, they are asking? SQC 1, quality of audit has to be there. SA 220, okay. 501, 505. 550, 510, 220 and 610. Okay, interesting. 700 forming an opinion will be there. 510, yes, it will be there. Comparison of previous year figure, opening balance is there. SA 220, quality of audit might be there, 500, yes, might be there, SQC1 quality will be there, forming an opinion. Only one, using the work of internal auditor, 5B is the correct answer, only for the reason that SA 16 is there. You know, when you can crack this question, yes, it's B. When you can crack this question, when you know the name of the standard. Simple as that. In this case scenario, are they talking anything about internal auditors? No. Are they talking anything about SA 550 related party? No. So, considering for this case, which combination is not proper for their likely relevance in performing and completing the above engagement? The obvious answer is B, because about internal auditor, nothing is there. 550 also nothing is there. If you see every other thing, A, C and D, something or the other is relevant to that case study. So here there might be a mistake where you do miss this, that it is not proper, they are asking. So you have to see what is the standard which is not referred at all. What is the standard which is not relevant at all in this case. You will have to see like that. Common sense only. Now when you look at this question, what is this dabba numbers is given in theory paper? You will think all those things, especially if this is the first question, confidence will break. But you just see the answers, very easy. Everything is just common sense based, gross profit and all, where you studied. In 11th, 12th, you know what is the meaning of gross profit, what are the factors which is going to affect your gross profit ratio. The 11th standard syllabus, very, very easy. That's why I always say, whenever case is big, no, it is a way of showing that, see, I am giving something difficult like that. But actually, in reality, it will not be that difficult. Now, I'm moving on to the next case. That is case scenario 28. Pluto Limited is engaged in the manufacturing and distribution of furniture. Okay. After COVID, as the number of people working from home has gone up, this customizable range home for office furniture has gained a lot of importance. Reasonable. They were able to perform very well over the years, and the same has been reflected in their financial statements also. During the year 23-24, Messrs. Saha and Associates were reappointed as the auditor. The new engagement team has CA Saha, partner, and 5 article assistants. Given the large volume of transactions, the partner instructed the articles to review the financial statements and auditor's report from the previous year to gain a thorough understanding. Now they are doing the audit of 23-24. Auditor is asking all the article assistants to read the audit report and the financial statement of 22-23, that is previous year. While reviewing the summary page, one of the article, Kabir, noticed that few points were under discussion with the partner before finalizing the audit. The team verified the following points with respect to employee benefit expenses. The employee benefit expenses recorded in the books were actually incurred during the relevant period. Perfect. The expenses in respect of all personnel have been accounted for. Completeness is very perfect. The expenses recognized during the period are pertaining to the current accounting period only. That means cut-off procedure is also perfect. Now, the first assertion is what? The employee benefit expenses recorded in the books were actually incurred during the period. That means here they are talking about occurrence as an assertion. The expenses in respect of all the personnel have been accounted for. They are talking about completeness as an assertion. The expenses during the period are pertaining to the current accounting period only. Cut-off procedures have been done properly. Okay. It was also noted that dividend to equity shareholders for the year 22-23 was declared on 15th April 2023 and was recognized as liability in the year 22-23. 22-23 ends on 31st March. Now they have declared the dividend after 31st March. Should you recognize that as liability? Not required. If you just show it in notes to accounts, that is more than sufficient. You don't have to show it as liability. All right. Okay. Proceeding forward. Another article, Krish, noticed that debtors constitute a major component of the company's financial statements. As part of audit procedure, the auditor requested the client to obtain external confirmation from the parties. For this, a list of all the debtors were obtained and random sampling was performed by the auditor. The client directly obtained the selected debtor confirmation from the customers on time. Krish also observed addition in the assets amount. Okay, the client directly obtained the confirmation. Okay, fine. Krish also observed the addition in the assets amounting to 50 lakhs during the year, which is supported by sufficient audit evidence. However, upon scrutiny, it was found that some of the invoices were not in the name of the company. That means ownership is not there. It is not in the name of company. It is owned by somebody else. Further, cash and cash equivalent were classified as balance with banks, checks and draft on hand, cash on hand, and earmarked balances with banks. Okay, till here it is fine. With banks it's fine. Checks and draft on hand is fine. Cash on hand, yes, you have to disclose that also. But earmarked balances with bank, I don't think that is required. Based on the above, answer the following questions. Which among the following assertions are discussed with respect to employee benefit expenses? What are the assertions? We know the assertions I've already written here perfectly. Occurrence, completeness, and cutoff procedure. Here, occurrence, completeness, cutoff. Occurrence, cutoff, and completeness. Okay. Now what? Okay. They have given combination and they are asking you which is the correct. Now we already know it is 2, 3, 4. Where is that 2, 3, 4? So option number B. Is it correct? Yes, 1B. Now you understood how you have to do it? Yes. Easy. While reading the case itself, we found the answer without even coming to question. While reading the case with utmost conceptual clarity, you will be able to get to the answer. So 1B is the right answer. 2. Whether disclosure of dividend under the liability head during the 22-23 is appropriate. Should they disclose the dividend in 22-23 when the dividend is declared in 23-24? No. In notes to accounts, if they show it is more than sufficient. 2. These 3 are no. The amount should be recognized equally between 2 financial years. Doesn't make any sense. The amount should not be recognized as liability. It should be disclosed in the notes to accounts. Yes, perfectly fine. The amount should neither be recognized as liability nor disclosure. Why? You have to do the disclosure. That is 2C is the correct answer. 3. Krish pointed out that the method followed to obtain debtor confirmation in the previous year was not in accordance with SA 505. Therefore, Messrs. Saha and Associates should re-perform the same in the correct manner. Here, you know why I was a little confused? Because here it is said that client directly obtained the debtor confirmation from customers. Who has to get the debtor confirmation? The auditor has to get a direct confirmation from the third party. That is when it is called as external confirmation as per SA 505. Okay, let us see the options which is given here. As per SA 505, confirmation should be directly obtained by the auditor. Yes. Further, for all significant account balance as on balance sheet date, confirmation should be necessarily be collected. And for smaller outstanding balance, random sampling could be performed. Yes, if it is a big balance, significant account balance, then it should necessarily be collected. For smaller balances, you can do random sampling perfectly fine. It is okay to obtain the confirmation through the clients. No, it has to be a direct confirmation from third party. SA 505 confirmation should be directly obtained by the auditor, whereas random selection can be done for all debtors irrespective of the amount. No, it is better to do for all significant account balances, and then for small balances, you do it on random sampling also, no issues. Either auditor or client. Yes, answer is A. Either auditor or client can obtain confirmation based on time and no. External confirmation must always be directly obtained by the auditor from the third party. We know that. So it is obviously A only. 3A is the right answer. Which assertion has been affected in the case of fixed assets? Okay, now I want to see what they have told about fixed assets first of all. What did they say here about the fixed assets? Addition in the assets amounting to 50 lakhs during the year is supported by sufficient appropriate audit evidence. However, upon scrutiny, it was found that some of the invoices was not in the name of the company. That means what? Ownership is not there in the name of company. Okay. Now, which is the assertion being affected in the case of fixed asset? Rights and obligation. That means he does not have the right. He does not own it. Existence, yes, it is there. Completeness, yes, maybe they have measured it properly, it is complete, but ownership is not there. That means he does not have the right on that asset. 4B should be the correct answer. 5. Cash and a cash equivalent. When I read itself, I knew balance with bank should be there, check and draft on hand should be there, cash on hand but it should be there, but some earmarked funds with the bank and all need not be there. Which of the following incorrect disclosure of the same? Definitely it is D. 5D, earmarked balances with bank. This is items of FS, cash and cash equivalent. This assertions is given in SA 500. Now what is this? SA 505. And this one, which disclosure of dividend? This is again items of FS and company audit. And this is assertions, again SA 500 and items of FS. Now you see how they are combining different standards and other chapters and giving the case study. Very good case study, yes. Question number, case scenario 27. Can we see that? Joy Limited, which is a company which is engaged in business of trekking essentials. Yes, I really like trekking. He appointed CA Raj as the statutory auditor for the year. Due to the large volume of transaction, the audit engagement team of CA Raj realized that it will not be feasible to audit each and every transaction separately during the financial year. Okay. Therefore, engagement partner decided to apply the following audit sampling techniques. Very good. Random number table lists were used for selection of sample for power, telephone and fuel charges. That means randomly they have selected for power, telephone and fuel. No structured method of sampling was used for office stationery. No structured method means I think this is haphazard sampling. Random number table list is random sampling. No structured, I think simple random. No structured method of sampling means haphazard. Transactions exceeding rupees 8,000 was selected for travel expenses. That means exceeding a particular monetary unit, they are taking it as sample. That is monetary unit sampling. The first 200 sales invoices, this is definitely block sampling. In our concept book also same example is given. First 200 sales invoices from sales book were selected for sales. This is block sampling. Okay. I hope they have asked the same, what is the method used for each of the things. Okay. Mr. Suresh, one of the team members, compared the salary expenses incurred by the company during the current year with those of the previous 5 years. He has done some analytical procedure, trend analysis. He noticed a significant percentage increase in the salary expenses. This unusual increase raised the doubt in his mind. He decided to compare such an increase in salary expense with the increase in number of employees. Very good. Reasonability test he is doing. The company is having warehouse at 2 locations. CA Raj is planning to attend the physical inventory count process also. The inventory includes finished products such as trekking jacket, bag, shoes and raw material like leather, cloth, chemicals. Some of the inventory is also held by third party. Okay. During a discussion among team members regarding the sufficiency and appropriateness of audit evidence, they agreed that sufficiency is the measure of quantity. Very perfect. Sufficiency means quantity, appropriateness means quality, and appropriateness is the measure of quality. Joy Limited operates 100 stores on rented premises across the country and is in the process of expanding. More than expanding. Although rent expenses have been accounted for, the auditor requested the management to provide all active rent agreements for the year under audit for detailed examination. They are asking for all the active rental agreements. Based on the above, answer the following questions. Which of the sampling techniques were used for following transactions? Good, we already know it. Power, telephone and fuel charges, office stationery, travel expenses and sales. What is the one? Random, haphazard, monetary unit and block. Where is that given? Random, haphazard, monetary unit, block. 1C is the right answer. Is that right? Yeah. Which audit procedure was Mr. Suresh intended to perform by comparing the salary expenses? What did he do for salary? He did a trend analysis and he did that reasonability test also. He compared the financial and non-financial data. So definitely it is analytical procedures. 2D should be the right answer. Which of the following is not part of CA Raj responsibility with respect to the inventories which is held by third party. CA Raj should request the confirmation from third party regarding the quantity and condition of inventory. SA 501 we saw. If inventory is held by third party, he will ask the third party for the quantity and condition of the inventory which is held by third party. So this is Raj's responsibility only. This cannot be the answer because they have specifically asked which is not part of CA Raj's responsibility. CA Raj should perform an independent valuation of inventory based solely on company's internal records. Should he do that? I don't think so. CA Raj should request a third party to allow him to physically inspect the inventories which is held by them. Yes, he can ask that. CA Raj should review the terms of agreement between company and third party. Yes, definitely he should do this to understand the responsibility relating to the management of inventory. The right answer is 3B, where he himself should go and he himself to do an independent valuation of inventory based on the internal records. Not required. Not part of CA Raj's responsibility. 3B is the correct answer. Which audit procedure was used by CA Raj while collecting all the rental agreements? Now he collected all the rental agreements for what? To inspect them, or to do analytical procedures, to do reperformance, or to observe. Observe means looking into process or procedure. Inspecting means what? Seeing the documents. 4A is the right answer. Rental agreement is a document. Analytical procedure, plausible relationship between financial and non-financial data. No, he's just saying he's taking the agreement. Reperformance, there is nothing to reperform here. He will just inspect the rental agreement. So 4A is the right answer. 5. In the given case, the audit team of CA Raj discusses the sufficiency and appropriateness of audit evidence. In the context of Joy Limited audit, the team was considering various factors affecting the sufficiency of the evidence they had gathered for large volume transactions. Which of the following is not a factor that will influence the auditor's judgment on the sufficiency of audit evidence? Now, if you remember, what and all are the factors affecting the sufficiency, you should know. Then only you will be able to say which will not affect the sufficiency. Materiality, if something is important, automatically your quantity of the audit evidence will increase. It is a factor affecting. Risk of material misstatement, if you know a place is risky, that misstatements can happen, automatically your quantity is going to increase. Size and characteristics of population. The size is big, then your sufficiency will increase. So the factors affecting, there are 3 points: the materiality, risk of material misstatement, size and characteristics of population. Fourth one is given as type of products Joy Limited manufactures. Is the type of the product going to influence the quantity of the audit evidence? No. So the right answer is 5D, that is the type of products Joy Limited manufactures, because here which of the following is not a factor that influence the auditor's judgment. Many a times, multiple times, we have seen the question where it is a negative question, where they have asked where the threat is not there. It is not a factor for sufficiency. In that case, you have to be very, very careful to understand the English. Do not take that as what are the factors which will influence. Then all 3 will come. Specifically, they are which is not a factor. Multiple times we saw negative questions like this. You need to be very, very careful to understand a negative question in place. Yes, please guys, keep that in mind when you read the question. We saw one question where directly you can go to the question and directly you can answer. No need to read that case study. Very rarely you can do that if you're short of time and if you know the answer for sure. Yes, you can do that. And one more thing, in the observation of these 10 questions, I will tell you, in that para which is given, each and every para is having a relevance to a particular standard. I hope you understood that. When you read a para itself, you are understanding, okay, this sentence is wrong. This sentence is talking about this particular assertion. This sentence is talking about this standard, a point in this standard. It is supposed to be done that way, but they have done this way. Share capital. Yes, sir. Then there is no change in share capital. Company secretary, written representation has to be received. They have written something as written representation from accounts manager. Now, when you read that case itself, you know, okay, they're testing about no change in share capital. Automatically, items of FS, share capital, second point, it's talking about no change in share capital. Another one in share capital we saw about reduction of share capital and sweat equity shares where special resolution has to be passed. They mentioned that in the case study. You know that it is correct. It is as per the provision only, and then you'll keep reading forward. So keep mapping your mind when you read the case itself. When you read the case itself, please map your mind as to which standard, which chapter, is there an accounting standard involved, is there any company law involved. All those things should be attentive. Now, finally, about MCQ, I want to tell you something. When should you do the MCQ? Whether at the start, whether at the middle, or whether at the end. It is completely up to you. This is also right, this is also right, this is also right. But mostly avoid it in the end because full tension will be there. You cannot think correctly, so avoid it in the end. Start or middle is completely fine. What I want you to focus on is the timing of MCQ. You have 30 marks for MCQ, which means that you cannot cross more than 40 minutes. Say start, you want to do half. We finished with 15-20 minutes. That means in your head automatically it should be there when you do it in the middle. Only 15 minutes I'm going to allocate for this. Now you understood how I read through the case, how we have to go through each and everything and keep mapping to different standards. Okay, they're talking about this, they're talking about that. As an auditor, you please think, not as a student. As an auditor, if I am in that situation, what will be going in my head? That is the exact thinking process. That is the exact mindset that you should have when you are solving these questions, guys. Are you able to understand? I hope it was useful. We have done about 10 MCQs. Yes, from case 27 to case 36, 10 MCQs is done. Please do the remaining also. Do the remaining also. And in the beginning, if you see in the book, there will be 1 mark MCQs. Very easy. Very, very easy for you to solve. Just go through these also before you go to the exam. It will be very, very helpful for you guys. Yes, guys, I'm gonna stop here. Thank you. All the very best for your exams.